Is it necessary for Gary Neville to make those sort of observations? It feels to me sometimes that him and Carragher are now making observations simply to get attention. It certainly isn't necessary for a leading pundit to come out and say, right, that's it, you should be resigning, you should be going in there. I mean, this is silly stuff. It's not even grown-up conversation worth commenting on.
Martin, every week, it's just slating Manchester United.
No, Mark, just a minute, Mark. Look, I don't take to the field to represent Manchester United, do I?
I think it's graceless. I think Liverpool should want their fans to be better.
We're not Arsenal, serial losers.
How's the biggest club in the world then, losing all these games of football?
I'm sure that they'll have their own view on it and their own sense of entitlement.
It's not my fault. Look beyond me, and try and see that there's a bigger problem Manchester United, Mark.
Right, you. Let's have it clear.
Just when you thought we were winding down and Liverpool are champions and everybody knows what's going on, we have an FA Cup final coming up. Story after story emerges. Martin Keown, Arsenal Invincible, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
I mean, you'd love to be talking about a Champions League final with Arsenal in it, obviously.
That'd have been nice. I was very pleased with the way they played, though. Obviously, they couldn't score the goal in those first 20 minutes. They did Arsenal to PSG what they did to Arsenal in the first match, where they were quite magnificent.
Yeah.
Arsenal took it to them. It was an interesting change yesterday, Martinelli going down the middle. I think that gave you a kind of insight to what maybe comes in the future when Arsenal do have a centre forward that makes runs beyond the opposition's defence, because obviously everything was feet. Suddenly there was a variation.
But how would you feel in a two-horse race if they don't finish second?
Well, I mean, who said it's a two-horse race?
Well, it has been for a considerable period of time.
The last month or so, 6 weeks, Arsenal have not picked up enough points. It's a ridiculous amount of draws. And obviously their workload of fixtures it seems to be okay for certain teams to get to a final and prioritise Europe, but Arsenal played pretty well the same team. Jimmy, if you look, Arsenal didn't make any changes. It's been quite a workload, but they found wanting in the centre forward area. So of course that's going to be dealt with in the summer.
It's going to be dealt with this morning.
Maybe even now.
Yes, indeed. Look at this healthy specimen beside me. You're looking well, my man. Good morning.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Enjoy the weekend sunshine.
I'm sure I wasn't feeling well over the weekend, but I'm all right.
No, I've heard. Yeah.
You've
been all right.
Sorry to hear that.
But he makes it in.
This is it.
This is the difference.
Loves the Monday show.
Geography. You're going to be sick at home, be sick at work, getting to work. That was my attitude.
Leave your problems at the doorstep when you go to work.
That's absolutely right.
Quite right.
He
Simon
wants you to get it, that's why, whatever he's got.
Oh, here, listen. I'll accept that.
It's not catching.
A Champions League race then going down to the wire. So where are we at in this incredible scramble towards the end of the Premier League season? Newcastle were the biggest winners, moving up to third in the league with victory over 10-man Chelsea. Chelsea are now down to fifth. Villa moved back into contention on Saturday with a win over Bournemouth, but Forest were pegged back 2-2 by Midlands rivals Leicester, and shock of the weekend came as Manchester City drew a blank at Southampton, of all places. Well done, Southampton. Saints fans, something to cheer about. But Villa moving back into contention on Saturday, and that wasn't lost on Unai Emery when he spoke to Sky Sports.
Good afternoon. Europe. Yes, of course, Europe. To be in Europe, very important.
Do you know what? Maybe he's referring to the two last games he's got of the season, which is Spurs and Manchester United, because that's all they're thinking about is Europe. Because maybe that's the easiest 6 points you're going to pick up between now and the end of the season.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I love the way he did that, though, Simon. It's just like he's just got a win over Bournemouth, so I'm going to go for it. Europe. And the emphasis is on that. Yeah. Who's going to finish in the Champions League places?
Yeah, I mean, they've qualified for a European competition, haven't they? I mean, they will hope it won't be the European Conference. That won't look such an admirable thing for him to have said. Look, I think Martin's hit the nail on the head. Villa have got the two games against the teams that couldn't care less in their league right now. They've got nothing to play for in the domestic league. Yeah. They're going to be able to want to recycle their playing squad to give the best version of themselves in the Europa League final. So of all the run-ins, you'd probably say Villa have got the best opportunity to give themselves an opportunity. I think if you look at who's going to qualify for the Champions League spot and who would be the most disappointed and who would be the most challenged if they didn't achieve it, I think it has to be Chelsea. I think Chelsea now, 3 years into a project, have got to start hitting their straps. You can't make cases for owners to turn around and say, like they can't make it for managers, you can't keep on talking about what's going to happen in the future. you've got to start happening now.
Sure.
So for
They
Chelsea,
also play Manchester United, Simon, don't they? And who've down
They do,
tools.
they do,
And then
but it's the
Forest,
Fo-
which
it's the
is
Forest game.
Yeah, be an epic.
Mind you, it'd be pretty tough, and questions would be asked if Manchester City miss out.
I don't think
And
they will.
Pep.
I don't think they will. I think Manchester City, despite the result against Southampton, have got their momentum back, which
Yeah.
is not a great sign for the cup final on Saturday.
But if you don't beat Southampton, how can you say with any certainty that you beat Bournemouth and Fulham?
Exactly. So has it been a week?
Because Bournemouth will attack Manchester City.
Yeah. I mean, Simon, a weekend
Got
of
an FA Cup
damage
game as well there.
A weekend of damage minus a knockout blow, really, isn't it? When it comes down to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty telling blow for Nottingham Forest. I think Nottingham Forest would have anticipated of getting more than 1 point out of the last 2 games, getting beat by Brentford and drawing against a poor Leicester side.
They fought hard though.
They will fight now because they've got nothing to play for, which is a terrible mentality to have for your fans to watch players play at the end of the season when there's nothing on the games anymore.
Right. Well, you've taken us right to it, Simon, to be honest. Nottingham Forest at the end of that, 2-2 with Leicester. And what do you know? On comes, onto the pitch, that is, the owner, Evangelos Marinakis, a recognisable sight at any time of the day or night. Gary Neville said what happened thereafter was scandalous from that Forest owner. Nuno should go and negotiate his exit tonight with him. The Forest fans, players and manager do not deserve that. Essentially, Marinakis comes on and has an earful for Nuno as he's walking by, and Nuno Espirito Santo's expression changed somewhat. This was Nuno's version of events.
Comes for the situation that unfortunately in the last 10 minutes we had one man less, with situation of the not able to give us a hand to the team, to help the team because they were too much in pain, and that circumstance came from a bad communication between departments, our coaching staff and medical department. That they had the info of one thing, it proceeds, we make the sub. Unfortunately we then have another stoppage time. And after that, I think 30,000 people that were in the stadium were really, really upset, rightly so.
So unusually, Marinakis, the owner, put a statement out. Everybody, coaching staff, players, supporters, including myself, were frustrated around the injury of Taiwo and the medical staff's misjudgment on Taiwo's ability to continue the game. This is natural. This is a demonstration of the passion we feel for our club. Yeah, sure, I get that. But what is worse, Simon, an overly passionate owner or an absent one, like the Glazers, Stan Kroenke? I mean, this fella turns up, but should he have done what he did?
By the standards of what people expect people to do, probably not. Was it necessary? Probably not. Was it a poor piece of professionalism from the medical staff? Yeah. Should he have dealt with them offline? Yeah. Is it necessary for Gary Neville to make those sort of observations? It feels to me sometimes that him and Carragher are now making observations simply to get attention. It's a ridiculous conversation to suggest that Nuno Espirito Santo, that was brought back from Middle Eastern football by a motivated owner, that might well have stepped across the line in the eyes of the orthodoxy of how people should behave in the football world. The same people that have this orthodoxy don't hold the standards themselves, but let's just say that they're right, that it's not really necessary for an owner to walk onto a field and to do what he did, but it certainly isn't necessary for a leading pundit to come out and say, right, that's it, you should be resigning, you should be going in there. I mean, this is silly stuff. It's not even grown-up conversation worth commenting on.
I actually thought the Forest manager dealt with it really well, actually, and he talked about emotion. Obviously, this owner's going to come on. He's very passionate. You're going to take the good with the bad with him, and I thought the manager dealt particularly well with him. One thing that did worry me and concern me, and I don't want to come for the officials, but the incident involved, the guy was 10 yards offside when he was running through, and why they waited until he was nearly very serious injury.
That's the rules.
Well, I
That's the
just
rules.
feel it was so very obviously offside, that flag really should have come up.
If we stick on Marinakis, should the pitch ever be the owner's domain, Simon? Did you ever go on it?
Not to remonstrate with my manager, no. I went on it once to ask fans to clear the field in a playoff semi-final because I thought our fans celebrating in front of the Sunderland fans on the first leg of a playoff final was ill-advised, and I didn't fancy having a fine for a pitch invasion. But to go on there and remonstrate with the manager, no, it's not necessary. But there was different ownerships, there's different models. One thing you cannot deny is this man's commitment. This man's commitment to his football club, whether you like him spitting on the floor in front of officials or whether you like the cut of his jib and where he's got his money from and what the calibre of the man is irrelevant. He has bankrolled this football club to such a level that it's catapulted them out of the doldrums of 23 years in in the backwaters of football.
Yeah.
And there's been some significant people. Nigel Dougherty was a friend of mine that owned Nottingham Forest, well-heeled, financially highly motivated and very committed to Nottingham Forest, couldn't drag that team out of the Championship. This man's come and done it. And so he steps across the line. The balance is, what do you want? Do you want uninvested owners or do you want emotional ones? Do you not believe that Spirito Santo would have known what this animal is? He's worked with him for a year. He knows what the man's capable of.
That's what I was able to deal with.
It's other people that are becoming offended on behalf of him, and they should pack it in.
Yeah.
The principal identity of Nottingham Forest, with due respect, has been established by Marinakis. He has bought and paid for his football club to get itself back in and amongst the elite. The reasons why that 18 months ago, 2 years ago, everyone was saying what a shocker he was. He was buying players and Steve Cooper didn't know whether he was Arthur or Martha. They don't say that now.
So you're saying it's all right that he was on there?
No, I'm saying I wouldn't do it. But I don't think.
Is it a cultural thing, Sam?
Who's to judge it?
Greek owners are on the pitch almost every blinking week.
Who is to judge it? Who are the people that define the standards? Who arbitrates what is right and wrong in this day and age? The very people that don't uphold the standards themselves.
Do you think that's nonsense from Neville? Nuno should go and negotiate his exit tonight.
But it's just silly. It's just for people to react to. It's clickbait. Gary's a better observer than that. You don't need to be saying these sort of things. Nuno Espirito Santo is not going to be rocking into his chairman's office and saying to him, I'm out the door.
Yeah.
Because he knows that the guy's committed to the club. Now, whether an owner should do that. By the way, why is there one rule for owners and one rule for everyone? Everyone else is allowed to show emotion. Just out of curiosity.
But do we want it to become the norm to see the owner?
No, you don't.
No.
But we understand it comes with the territory with this man, don't we? And eventually he's going to let himself down. And I think actually the manager dealt beautifully with it. And that's why he's the manager of that football club. And they have taken him a hell of a long way, by the way, in 12 months. Yeah.
I wonder if in something of a weird way, Forest fans, did you quite like that? Did you like that demonstration of passion from Marinakis? You might want to give us a call on that. The fact, Simon, that Marinakis put a statement out, I think means that he dwelt on it and thought, yeah, I better say something here.
Well, he knew what was coming, but also he froze his... they are right. It was a poor set of unprofessional judgments being made about a player that was injured that should have been substituted.
Yeah.
Right? But he's then gone and doubled down on it by throwing his coaching staff and his
the physio
under the bus.
That's unfortunate.
And that personally,
the player may have given an indication that he was okay to carry on.
But he should have the wherewithal to want to say to them privately. I don't believe that you berate people publicly. I believe that you take them to one side and you go, right, let's have it clear. And people get to know the picture. You don't need to do it in the public eye, I don't think.
The thing is, if a manager does it, we let it go. Guardiola regularly does it with some of his players, doesn't he? Gives them an earful when they're coming off. So Marinakis decides, I'm going to go and have a quick word with Nuno. And now, of course, it explodes.
Yeah.
That's Pep's territory, isn't it? You expect him to do that. He's the manager. Okay, I don't like it, really seeing it, so open, public. I prefer that in the dressing room.
Mind you, it's his club. It's Marinakis.
But he's making a statement.
And there's the other side of the argument.
There's the other side of it.
The other side of the argument is Nottingham Forest fans.
He can do what he wants.
If the Nottingham Forest fans are offended and beyond all level of consolation about what their owner's done, then we may be able to listen to it. But if I'm going to listen to other people that most of the time spend their time berating their own owners, going in on this one because it sounds good, makes a good soundbite, how people can react to it.
When it comes to hard hitting, you can't argue that over the weekend, Ruben Amorim of Manchester United didn't miss and hit the wall with his post-match comments following the home defeat to West Ham. Where on earth are Tottenham and Manchester United going in to a Europa League final in Bilbao in a matter of days? Incredible. Both Spurs and Manchester United suffered home defeats at the hands of Palace and West Ham, respectively. Manchester United, as we speak this morning, are 16th, with 17 defeats in this league campaign. Tottenham lie 17th, with 20 defeats in this league campaign. 20 defeats. The most losses they have ever suffered in Premier League history. We're going to get to Tottenham in a second, but where are United? I mean, how can Spurs and Manchester United really be European finalists in one breath and domestically inept in the next? Amorim hinted, that winning feeling, we've lost that.
We had lack of pace. We have to do so much better. And for me, the biggest concern is that feeling that is okay. And we cannot change our position so much, so it's okay. And that is the biggest problem in our club. in this moment because we are losing the feeling of we are a massive club and it's the end of the world to lose a game at home. We need to change something that is deeper than this. And if we are showing that in the end of this season that we are not playing Premier League and Champions League for us is the moon. So we need to know that. And so I'm not concerned about the final. They will be focused. And I don't know what is best, if he's playing Champions League or not. So let's think about Chelsea to improve a lot of things.
So he's really there questioning whether or not playing Champions League football is the best thing for Manchester United at this time. And that was one thing. This was another. The culture of the football club. He actually asked questions of himself in that, is he the right man to change that culture?
I don't know. And I don't want to talk about players. I'm talking about myself and the culture in the club and the culture in the team. I have that feeling. We need to change that. And we need to be really strong in the summer and to be brave because we will not have a next season like this. If we start like this, or if the feeling is still here, we should give the space to different persons.
Give the space to a different person. In other words, it won't be him. Somebody else will be attempting to do what he's been attempting to do now in the past few months. The winner of this thing, Simon, gets Champions League football. That is the prize.
Yep.
But can you get your head round why Tottenham and his United can be European finalists in one breath and so domestically inept in the next?
Because they can attend to a cup competition, but they can't attend to the domestic rigours of the Premier League. You've got a coach that didn't want to manage Man United this time. He wanted to probably manage them at the end of the season. Doesn't want half the playing squad there. Is creating a narrative that I don't think is advantageous, but it has its reasons. There's a method to this man's madness. We might see it next season. But right
What's
now,
that? What is the method?
Well, I think the method is that he's having a game with the media and his owners, because there's no point in the things that he says. There isn't any point. So there must be a reason for him saying it. I try to work things pragmatically. I look at things objectively and don't just spend time emotively reacting to them for the purpose of a radio show. I sit and think, well, what's the purpose of that? And I can't work out what the purpose for it is, besides he's being a little bit disingenuous in the media and playing a game with the media. And we'll wait to see what comes under the bonnet next summer when he gets into the summer campaign, clears out what he thinks aren't good enough players, and subsequently builds on a platform which will be his own. Postecoglou is tactically inept at times, and so his team get found out. And so you've got two managers that won't compromise on their belief systems. One manager's coming in with a group of players that can't play the way he wants them to play, and he's set them up to some extent not to achieve outcomes, and then it's talking about the culture of the reasons why these outcomes aren't being achieved. And you've got another manager who's got a group of players that should be doing far better, but because of the way he sets them up, which is we'll go and score 5, it's a rich man's version of Ozzy Ardiles. And I like Postecoglou, but it'll work in a competition where you've got a couple of games every other week, every other 2 or 3 weeks to play in a cup competition. Well, I don't know what it tells you about the Europa League. Since we're saying they stink in the Premier League, they're dominating the Europa League.
But you know, since when was it acceptable to pick and choose your games? It's interesting that FA Cup holders at the moment, Manchester United, they kind of showed their colours, didn't they? The signs were there last year. They go a big game against Man City. They turn up to play. They decide when they want to play. And I'm always suspicious of a dressing room when they pick and choose the games they want to play in. And that's what we have right now. And I think they'd
be higher up the league with Ten Hag.
Well, they probably
would be higher up the league with Ten Hag.
I think the current manager really should have kept the system the same. He shouldn't have made the changes. That was really... maybe he's putting his hand in the air now. He's making very striking comments, and you know, the worst Manchester United team we've ever seen. This week it's now I might not be here next year. Now I think this is the most telling one, because you cannot go on, was it 6 wins from 25 league games? We are now 13 years since Ferguson last won the Premier League. We are 10 managers down the line, and I think it's suddenly acceptable if you're at Manchester United. No, I don't think it is, and I think he's realising that. He may be a call to arms. I need money in the summer. You need to make this better, because if you don't, then I might have to walk. And I think we're in the realms, of that area now.
I don't think he's saying he's going to walk. I think what he's saying is, if I continue along this vein, which, by the way, I have in part created. And he's also, I'll get saying, but he's also got an interesting reaction from the United fans. They think that this is a brand of authenticity that's telling it as it is, and sticking it on the toes of this dressing room that they're fed up with players that don't perform for Man United the way they should. They think that it's sticking it to the owners that they're going to need to put more money in. I don't think it's any of it. I think it's Amorim is a bit Machiavellian, and I don't think he's as authentic. He's the guy that photobombed clubs to get a job during the summer because that was his operandi.
You don't think he's messaging to the board then that he wants?
I think there was an element. But
has he been told potentially that there's not enough money there?
I think there was an element of that, yes, but I don't think it's quite as authentic as the fans think it is. They're championing this authenticity. They're going, at least he's telling us the truth. Now, his job, in my view, wasn't to make it worse. You know, the idea that you take 2 steps back to take 1 step forward is not a good thing for me. I think that you've created a narrative that you're steering into. He's rode back from all the things he says.
Yeah.
When he says things like we're the worst club, he then says it's his age. Well, pack it in. You're the man of Manchester United. You don't talk about how young you are and you're inexperienced enough. You're either good enough or you're not.
Right. If they went in the Europa League final, would he be sacked at the end of the season?
No. They wanted him.
No,
they've courted him. They've allowed him to behave this way.
17
defeats. They're allowing him to behave this way. They're allowing him to set his team up in a certain way. Nobody's saying to Amorim...
But isn't that remarkable almost in itself, that this is now the standard? And these guys were setting the standard
for this season. For this season,
as a club.
You say he's been Machiavellian with the media, Simon. Is he saying anything genuine when he talks to the media?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to work out, and that's not that because it's evading me. I'm trying to think what the messaging is.
I think he's honest after the games, and then he has to spend the rest of the week trying to sort of not be almost like pretend he didn't say it.
I think he's questioning if Champions League football is good for the club.
Well, I mean, of course it would catapult them into a different stratosphere, wouldn't it, straight away financially?
Martin. Everybody says, this is Manchester United.
Yeah, but you'd want to be in the Champions League. Would you take advantage of that gift horse?
Nobody picked United to do to Bilbao what they did, though, did they? Nobody picked them to do that. So we don't pick the bones out of that. We only pick the bones out of the bad things.
Is it not as straightforward as this?
We
are crap, and I cannot change this.
He can't motivate the players. So he's looking at the players in their comfort zone.
But he's
going through the motions.
He's helping them
in the Premier League.
Well. He's facilitating the crapness. He's facilitating an outcome. Losing the games the way that United have lost games since he's arrived in the door has been facilitated by, in part, his selection, his way of thinking, and some of the things that he says. He's facilitated those outcomes. So he can't just turn around and say it's crap. But he can, because he says it about himself as well. It's not good enough. I think we judge this man next year. I think that's the end of discussion.
I'm amazed you think he's going to get that far.
Oh, he'll get that far. He'll get that far.
You wouldn't have given Ten Hag this kind of treatment.
Well,
or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There's another one. You'd have been flattening them.
Yeah. Do we see both managers losing their jobs in the summer? You know, I mean,
every chance.
You know, I mean,
surely.
But we're drawing different parallels at different times.
Amorim, you're saying now though, even if Tottenham beat them in Bilbao, he goes into next season
because ultimately he inherited a situation. I always thought that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a forced choice based upon a couple of results. They got a few games in against Cardiff and PSG, and everyone went, away you go. And I think culturally that was the beginning of the tectonic plates slipping to such a point that United didn't have the culture. They didn't have any remnants of the culture from the winning environment.
Neither does this guy.
Ten Hag talked nonsense and defied logic and sat in front of people and insulted their intelligence. And it began to irritate people, and you were in this camp as well.
But isn't this the worst we've ever seen, though? Where you can list all those managers, and
the argument will be, and I'm not for or against him. The argument will be is that he's inherited a group of players that were patently not good enough. He's got all the sins of someone else's activities without any ability to change it. The rumour is, and whether you're taking notice of rumours, he didn't want the job until the back of the end of the year, so he didn't have to have this footprint. So he's exacerbated it. He's made it as bad as it could possibly be. Probably the Europa League is actually an added inconvenience because it doesn't make it look as bad as it could be.
But back in the day when the Scholeses and the Keanes lost, it was the end of the world, wasn't it? Now it's commonplace.
It's a norm.
They lose games, 9 now at Old Trafford?
I saw that at the weekend, Martin. I thought, they lost to West Ham. Yeah. That's where they're at. But there is the highly significant matter of a Europa League final coming up, which will feature the two Premier League sides currently sitting in 16th and 17th place. Manchester United against Tottenham. How the hell can that be? How can Manchester United and Tottenham be European finalists in one breath and domestically inept in the next? So United lost at home at the weekend to West Ham, and Tottenham lies 17th with 20 defeats in the league campaign thus far. The 20th of which came at the hands of Crystal Palace at home at the weekend. And Postecoglou gave his version of events post-match.
I just think maybe some of it's just, sort of psychological in terms of, not being able to cope with what's before us at the moment. you know, with everything, with elite sport, you know, if you're a little bit off it, you pay the price. And, you know, we're kind of, like I said, trying to navigate this sort of fine line of being prepared for, you know, a really big game, and but also needing to perform at levels that you need to in the Premier League, because it's, you know, it's unforgiving, and we're just not navigating that well.
So, Martin, according to him, it's about the players navigating this fine line between a big game just around the corner, and that's in Bilbao, and that's a European final against Manchester United, and navigating what's left for them to navigate in the Premier League. How difficult is that if you're a player?
Well, I mean, he makes copious changes to every team, doesn't he? Every selection. I don't know, Manchester United are doing something similar. They've thrown the kids in, and he probably feels he needs to do that. Certainly with the centre backs who've had so many injuries between them. So lots of changes. 20 defeats, he knows, is simply not acceptable. To be, you know, in 17th place in the table for Spurs. They finished 5th last season. To drop, there's no one dropped off like that. In a way, it's like he's able to put two fingers up to everybody, the media, on the way out if he wins the Europa League. For him to be still in the job, I mean, there'll be an awful lot of managers who've already lost their job at this point, haven't they? Been, when you think of like Harry Redknapp, and people have come out of this, you know, their job at Spurs, and will be looking at this thinking, how on earth has he actually stayed? He's defiant. He says he always wins a trophy in his second season, and he's probably going to do it. Looking at Manchester United, the two teams, I know maybe people will say, okay, Man United's name is maybe on the cup, the way that they were behind against Lyon and that late equaliser.
So you're taking Tottenham to beat United?
But I think that they look like, if I was to actually, if they get their best team on the pitch, if there's a bit of balance to the way that they set up, then they certainly have the ingredients to be able to beat Manchester United, because Manchester United can't keep kind of like, I know both teams are guilty of it, Jim, picking and choosing when they play, and that's the thing that makes you suspicious. But maybe they do win a trophy. Maybe both managers end up being de-seated and then come out of their jobs. But it's 37 defeats now between these two clubs. It's almost a full Premier League season. Probably will be by the time we get to the final. It's remarkable fall from grace, and Spurs were just on the cusp, weren't they? 5th place, just missed out, and now look at them 17th. It's remarkable decline.
How ironic would it be, Martin, if Tottenham end up winning a trophy in this era before Arsenal, a European one?
Well, I mean, you say, what's the irony in it? I mean, where does it? Are they an elite club? Would you say they're an elite club? They get into the Champions League somehow, at the bottom of that pile. What are there, 30-odd teams, and will they be the 36th team? Is the Europa League really? I mean, you look at the teams in the Europa League, it's nowhere near the Champions League now in quality, now that the teams from the Champions League don't fall out from the group stages and bounce back into it. But, you know, it makes the Europa League attractive. If you can win that and get into the Champions League, it's a massive boost in the arm. And when you've got the Manchester United manager saying it doesn't really matter, we don't want it, of course he wants it, because it gives them the resources financially. We're hearing Manchester United don't have the resources now, don't have the money. This would transform them if they were to get it. So this is a huge game, but I don't think it's acceptable to lose 20 games of football in the Premier League. It's remarkable.
And I'll put you on the spot again. Who are you taking to win in Bilbao?
I think Spurs have a better chance of winning this. Yeah, I'll do that. It's my opinion. I think that if they can get everybody on the pitch, if Van der Ven is on there, Romero it forms that partnership. I think it's really key. If they can get a balance from dropping off instead of that stupid high line, if they can get that balance, and they've got a balance to their play. I think attacking wise, Solanke now is coming into a little bit of form. Maddison's a big miss, but I think they've got enough in that team to win it. What we'll probably see is Man United take it to extra time and win on penalties, but I think Spurs are capable.
Where are Tottenham and United fans with their clubs this morning? Mark is a big Spurs fan. Mark, good morning. I know you've been waiting patiently. Where did you start, mate?
Morning, guys. Good to talk to you all.
Morning. Morning, Mark. Sounds like a Monday morning. Good morning, but on you go.
Yeah. I just wanted to pick up something Martin said. Not just Martin. It's been kind of like the narrative, really, about this. The lack of Champions League dropout places means that the competition's weaker. If you look at the final last year, neither side that competed had dropped out the competition. couple of years ago, you had probably the weakest four semi-finalists in a while: Frankfurt, West Ham, Rangers, and Leipzig. And I think only Sevilla have won it, having dropped out in the last few years. Just wanted to sort of pick up on that. And I think the fact we're 17th is totally unacceptable. But I think we've almost needed a season where we weren't challenging for the top 4 or 5 in order to try and get this, monkey off our back with regards to cups. People can't have it both ways. They banter us for coming second or third for 4 or 5 years in a row and not winning anything. And now we've got a chance of winning something. It's like, yeah, but your league form's poor. It's like the narrative just switches to suit whoever's, having a pop at Tottenham.
What do you want to say, Martin, to Mark?
Well, I'm not having a pop at Tottenham. I'm just looking at their record this season, and it's just simply not good enough, is it? I mean, to be 5th in the table last season and fall all the way to 17th. Look, okay, if it's a blip, it's a one-off, you get your trophy under your belt, and then next season you finish. Where are you going to finish next year? I don't think it's a given that you suddenly can flick a switch as a group of men and suddenly turn things around. So, no, I think you're judged on your league form. That's the bread and butter. That's the consistency. That's how you're judged, how you play each season. And at the moment, it's a shocker for Spurs. There's no doubt about it. Of course, they're in a final. I don't think Bodo Glimt were really at the level that people really expected. Of course, it's professional performance. They've done that. But really, I think if Spurs don't win this trophy now, it's going to be an absolute dreadful season for them.
And fast forward to post this final, Mark. Say you win it, say you lose it. What kind of season have you had?
If we lose it, it's been a horrific season. If we win it, the memories that will be made next Wednesday will probably supersede anything I had in the Pochettino era. As I said, when we were coming second, third and fourth for 5 years on the Poch, we were told that winning a League Cup or winning an FA Cup was more of a measure of your success than winning nothing. You don't get medals for coming runners up. As I said, I've come second, third, fourth routinely. I want to see us win a cup now. The memories that can be sort of made for life.
Okay, good call, Mark. Thank you for that. James is a Manchester United fan. What is your thinking this morning, especially after what you hear Amorim has been saying over the weekend, James? Good morning.
Morning, guys. Basically, I just wanted to...
James has dropped his phone in the goldfish bowl, I think. We'll maybe get him back. We're going to... Yeah, David has come through. Many United fans coming through, so we'll take your call. David, good morning. Same thing for you, mate. What about Amorim's latest comments?
Hi there, gentlemen. Good morning. Great show as always.
Thanks, David.
Great to be on. Well, Amorim's comments, I mean, what to say? I think there's always a bit of truth behind the comments. I think he's come into a really difficult job. I mean, the point I wanted to make initially, the reason I made the call is I've heard Martin now make a comment in terms of the formation that we're playing, and a number of times now, and it's beginning to kind of get under my collar a little bit. I just wanted to put this question to Martin and ask him, when Arsene Wenger came to Arsenal and he asked you guys to switch to a formation and say he wants to play a 5 from now on, going forward, how long it took you guys to switch to that formation as professional footballers? Because from what I see on the pitch at United is they've had 6 months now where these are professional footballers paid a lot of money to adapt to a certain formation. Now, you're telling me, Martin, that in 6 months, these players cannot, because we are not seeing anything on the pitch where there's no patterns of play, there's hardly any improvement, there isn't anything to show me that these players are understanding how to play as a 5 at the back. So how is that? Please explain.
David, let me explain. So when Arsene Wenger arrives at Arsenal, 97-98, 5 games into a new season, he decides to leave it. We were playing with a back 5. He didn't want to play a back 5, but the intelligent thing to do from his point of view was leave it as was, because he wasn't the one on trial then, it was the players. So we carried on with very little change. The start of the next season, he said, right, okay, I'm going to implement the changes I wanted to make, which is one of the reasons why I've been so critical of this manager, suggesting that his tactical vocabulary is very limited. He should have, because then everyone now is pointing the finger at him. He should have left it as it was. Play a 4-3-3.
Why can't he come in and tell you guys to play 5 straight away? Why do you need 6 months? Why can't you do it straight away?
Well, because obviously the manager is not showing that he's got the capability to stitch in the new information. Now the players, okay, are comparable as well because they can't take that on board. But I don't think the group was suited, David, to change to this system.
When you're saying stitched information, you add in an extra defender and your movement in your position is slightly different. This is what professional footballers do, Martin.
Yeah, but do you think the squads, your wide players, for instance, are they really suited to play with wing backs?
Not particularly, no.
Do you think Fernandes really works hard enough out of possession?
Yes, I think he's one of the hardest working players.
When you play this system of 3-4-2-1, then you've got just two players in the midfield at times, and they found heavily wanting in that area. Surely it'd be easier just to have a third player in there, no?
As professional footballers, mate, I think that the evidence is there for everybody to see. These guys...
No, but David, you're wrong because they're not performing, are they? So when they don't perform, then you need to change back again, don't you? So the manager has tried really hard to make this work, and it hasn't worked, only in Europe.
To go back to what, Martin, to what every single manager beforehand has done Amorim, and play to the player's hand, and then eventually get him sacked. Because they choose when they can play and when they can't play. If something
gets worse and not better, then you have to say the manager is culpable for that. No,
the players. But I think what David's saying is, why have the players not been able to implement what Amorim wants?
Because I don't think they're suited, Jim, to this system. They're not suited to play in that way at the back, and they're not. And in wide areas, they're not. And Haaland there's not enough bodies around him.
Where do you stand in this, Mark? Another big United fan. Good morning.
Oh, yeah, good morning. My first point is that, Martin, every week it's just slating Manchester United.
No, Mark, just a minute, Mark. Look, I don't take to the field to represent Manchester United, do I? It's not my fault. Look beyond me, and try and see that there's a bigger problem Manchester United, Mark. Seriously.
Give the balanced opinion. You come on every week.
We've just been talking about Spurs with equal measure.
Again, you were negative against Spurs. You were not promoting anything.
At the start of the season, I was saying that Spurs would end up in the top four. They've made me look a fool.
We're all about now, aren't we? Here and now.
So you can't say that I don't try and support other teams. I've said time and time again that it'd be nice to see Manchester United back up there again with the big boys. And it's pretty sad to see how far they've fallen.
Biggest club in the world.
So it's not.
We're not Arsenal, serial losers.
How's the biggest club in the world then? Losing all these games of football every week.
Because Ruben Amorim is trying to implement a new style of football that's not...
But it's not new anymore, is it? He's been there 6 months. It's not new, is it? It's not happening. So you have to change.
No, you don't change, do you? You stick to what he knows and how he coaches. That's why we're unbeaten in Europe.
I would suggest that it's just the fact that we find ourselves in a time in history where we're, 13 years down the line with you 10 managers in, and you now want a stance of loyalty. Let's stick with this man. Maybe it's a blind loyalty, and maybe in the end you're in a much worse position you found yourself before he got there.
But he's had 6 months, like you said.
So you don't think it's long enough?
8 years, what's he won? 1 FA Cup. And that wasn't even his squad. Manchester United...
Do you feel it's acceptable then? What's you're seeing?
Unbeaten in Europe.
Okay, you want to talk about your... but since when do Manchester United just play in Europe? They play in all competitions.
Mark, if the bottom three weren't as bad as they've been, you'd be in a relegation scrap, mate. Europa League final or no Europa League final?
Potentially not, because we would be concentrating on the league and not trying to win Europe as well.
Simon would say, if my aunt was my uncle. Mark, listen, thanks for the call. I'm heading down, the fella comes out in office and he says to me, I'm a Liverpool fan, you're going to be talking about Trent. And I said, yeah, we will be. And I said, yeah, what did you think? And he says, yeah, it's simple enough, Jim. Yeah, you'll never walk alone, but terms and conditions apply, he said. So really? Terms and conditions apply. Let's get into this. Liverpool up against Arsenal yesterday. Now, I'll cast your mind back to just a few days before that. Liverpool are the Premier League champions and Trent Alexander-Arnold has played a major part. Prior to his announcement last week, an announcement that we all knew was coming, his two colleagues, Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk, had said, we're staying and we carry on with our careers at Liverpool. But Trent was a bit different, and so was his message.
After 20 years at Liverpool Football Club, I'll be leaving at the end of the season. I think the decision for me is personal. To change environment, to challenge myself elsewhere. It's not about wanting to find something better. It's about me and my personal journey as a player, and I feel like now is the right time for me to go and experience that. It's something that I feel like I need to do on my journey in my career. The memories, the special moments are and will always be some of the best moments I'll have in my life, and memories that will live with me forever. And I'm eternally grateful to everyone who's helped me along the way. Being able to sit here now as a two-time Premier League champion for the club that I grew up loving, it's a great end to the story for me. It's all I've ever known. It's everything I've ever wanted to do.
Scunthorpe money.
So that was Trent speaking from the heart. It's all about my personal journey. And I'm eternally grateful to everyone, the fans, everybody at Liverpool who have helped him on his way. And the fans have played a major part in that. And he's grateful to them. And after all, this is Trent Alexander-Arnold, who has won everything he can possibly win at Liverpool. 2 Premier League titles, 1 FA Cup, 1 EFL Cup, FA Community Shield, Champions League trophy, UEFA Super Cup, FIFA Club World Cup. He's won the lot. And now, in his personal journey, the next stage is somewhere else. And that somewhere else is more than likely to be Real Madrid. So yesterday, Trent Alexander-Arnold came on to the field of play as a substitute, the game against Arsenal, and a large section of the Anfield crowd booed him and booed every touch he had with the ball thereafter. Arne Slot spoke about that post-match.
I said to everyone that asked me that question, that it's a privilege to live in Europe where everybody can have his own opinion and everybody can express his own opinion. I owe it to the players and to the club and to the staff, for everyone that works so hard for us to win a game of football, to try to do that. And if we are after 70 minutes 2-2, Connor can't continue and I have a world-class fullback on the bench, I bring him in, and I think it's a big compliment for him, because you can understand how mixed the emotions were in his head probably as well. That you bring in a performance like that tells you why everybody thinks he's a world-class fullback, because with him we were quite close to winning this game. Yeah, but I think if you clap, it's not as loud as if you boo. But I didn't count the amount of people that were booing and the ones that clapped for him. But like I said, they have the right to express their opinion. I think the first thing they did is give credit to Steven Gerrard one more time for the player he's been for this club. Then they sung for Conor Bradley, who deserved that completely, because he played great, 60, 70 minutes long. Although we had to block the cross with the 2-1, but that I will tell him this week. But he played really well. And then afterwards, if you tell me it was 60-40, 50-50, 40, I don't know. But what I do know is clapping is not as loud as booing.
And booing there was, by many. The thing is, did he deserve that? What did we witness? Did we witness something of a trashy Trent reaction? Many fans getting in touch, not just Liverpool fans, 81089. There's Ash, a Newcastle fan. I think Liverpool fans are truly, truly pathetic, the ones who booed. Instead of applauding him, celebrating the title, they're showing all this vitriol towards one of their own who has won everything with them. They have to grow up. He's going to get used to it. So, at the end of the day, Simon, the reaction surprised me, I've got to say, when I watched the game live and I heard what I heard. Where do you stand on this? Where do you think?
Well, it has been an endless media conversation.
Liverpool fans are going with this.
Well, it has been an endless media conversation for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So it doesn't surprise me that the fans have alighted upon it and formulated a slightly more strident opinion than perhaps they would have had if it wasn't a constant subject dawn till dusk on every radio show. But the fact of the matter is that if they're entitled to praise and applaud, they're entitled to boo. I think it's a graceless and witless way to be, but if that's what they think they want to do to a player, I mean,
graceless and witless.
Well, it is graceless, isn't it? I mean, I don't know whether it's steeped in the psyche that some of the fans will think that he's had them over because he's gone on a free transfer, and there's an argument to be said there. And Martin Keown's father, Arsene Wenger, has talked about the idea that we'll not see top players going for top fees anymore. They'll orchestrate these kind of things ad infinitum because it benefits them in the longer game. He talks about that in various discussions that he has. But I mean, I look at it and say, when did it become an obligation upon a player? I mean, we were talking briefly about Keegan being at Liverpool. He didn't come through their academy. He came from Scunthorpe, but he left in '77, was replaced by Dalglish. The one thing that goes on is the club. And the one thing that Liverpool will do will go on, and they'll continue to be successful because they're a great football club. I don't know what it says about their fan base. Well, they think they're entitled to boo a player. Yeah, I mean, but they are entitled to do as they please.
Right. Before you start, Martin, there's Tony, a Liverpool fan. He can't play again this season, and almost certainly can't be on the open-top bus parade. Tony, give us, if that really is your view, and if that's the view of others, come on and tell us why you think that. 03717 223344. Martin.
That's a very shallow approach. And just, what I want to say firstly is, I mean, we're going off on this topic, but Liverpool have been worthy champions this year. Fantastic football. The way that they stormed from their own box to the opposition's area, 6 players on the attack in front of goal, been absolutely brilliant. And I know we're going off on a tangent here, but we do need to talk about this issue. I want to say that Trent Alexander-Arnold, I thought he was magnificent yesterday, the way that he accepted the reaction of the fans. He didn't, offer up the ear and say, oh, okay, he just like, okay, this is what you want to present to me. I can only give my best. I think he's one of those where, because he's the fan on the pitch, a local lad, done well, they live it through him, and they desperately wanted him to be there. And I think he has to almost give him a false pardon, really, because he loves that club. Of course he loves that club. He always will. It'll always be his club. But professionally, he's taking his show to another club. He's going to do another experience, another continent. He wants to go and experience something else. He's won everything in the game.
And what's wrong with that?
And he can walk the streets of Liverpool, a very proud man. And he should be allowed to do that. It's happened in the past. You like Sir Keegan Dalglish replaced him. The players though at Liverpool, they're heroes, they're gods, aren't they? The Barneses and the Hansons and all these guys over the years. And Trent is one of those, and he will be forever, Jim. And I just think it was one of those things where
coming to the peak of his career now, isn't he? And so
I don't think it's helped though that other former players have like a bit of incendiary to sort of say, well, which player do you want to be compared to? Do you want to be compared to Gerrard? Or do you want to be compared to McManaman? By the way, both players were equally brilliant for Liverpool, and how you judge the two. And I think that maybe the fans think, hold on, how does anyone ever want to leave Liverpool? Well, do you know what? There's news for you, that people do want to experience new things, and he is a top talent, and I really wish him well actually on his journey now at Real Madrid.
Listen, on the other side of the argument, and I don't want to sit on both sides of the fence, he made his choice. He's chosen to run his contract down. And he's not responsible for Liverpool not wanting to take a £20 million bid for him in January, granted. But he's run his contract down, so we know that the beneficiary of that is going to be him. And so if a few or a section or a large proportion of Liverpool fans inside a football stadium want to... This is an emotional business. Yeah. The reasons why footballers are rewarded so well in such an illogical way is because emotion fuels the business of this sport, which drives the broadcasters to want to pay the money that they do, which turns it into the commercial opportunity. So you can't have all the emotion that gives you the rewards from a football and then be unhappy that it comes back the other way. Do I think it's right? No, I think it's graceless. I think Liverpool should want their fans to be better than that. And I'm sure that they'll have their own view on it and their own sense of entitlement. And of course, we see the Liverpool fans boo the national anthem. We see that if you utter certain characteristics towards Liverpool, you have to watch your step or you'll be in trouble, because you can't say that about Liverpool fans. So you have to be careful how you describe this football club. I wonder what Klopp would have said. Would he have been stronger? Well, I don't know what he'd have said. I mean, ultimately, the boys made his decision. The fans wanted to boo it. Yeah. And that's their prerogative.
And you've got that booing graceless and witless.
Well, it is a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is really. Steeped in entitlement.
Many Liverpool fans getting in touch. One of the first callers is Joe, who's through to us. So, Joe, I'll put you on the spot. Good afternoon. Were you one of those who booed Alexander-Arnold when he came on?
I was, Jim, to be fair, and I don't understand why does he have the right to choose a football club and go where he wants to go, but the fans can't have a choice between whether they want to boo or not. I just don't get that. For me, he's not, when you compare him to the likes of Gerrard, who's a diehard Liverpool fan and stayed when he had the options to go to Chelsea. He's just not at that level. So the fans have the right to decide whether they want to boo or not. I don't understand why people go crazy about this.
What do you think about his contribution to your club, Joe?
Yeah, great, fantastic, and I'm sure when it comes to the last game of the season, I'm sure we'll all give him applaud and say thank you for your time and goodbye. But
why didn't you do that yesterday?
Well, because I just think as someone who's a Liverpool fan, he shouldn't have left the way he has. It's as simple as that. I don't understand why people think that's very difficult to understand.
So how did you want him to leave?
Well, he should have signed a contract, and we should have got something, you know.
But he says, Joe, it's his personal journey. You get that, don't you?
It is his.
It's not yours. It's not mine.
And look,
it's his.
It's a professional working career. He has the right to do what he wants to do, just like the rest of us. But so does the fans who pay hard-earned cash to go and watch the players. They have the right to choose to boo the player.
Joe, thanks for your call. Here's Anthony, another Liverpool fan who wants to join us. Do you agree with Joe, Anthony? Where do you stand in this?
Are you talking to me now?
That's you, Anthony. Yeah. Good afternoon.
Sorry, fella. Okay, hi. Hello, fella. Yeah, I'm a massive Liverpool fan. Family all from Liverpool, very staunch, protective about Liverpool and everything like that, although I live in the south. I think it's disgusting that people booed him. I really do. I've got a real thing about this. I think people, the Glasgowers on the line who said, oh, he's entitled to boo. No, he's not. I totally disagree with that. I think if you want to give your ticket up, fella, there are thousands on the day and millions worldwide who give their right arm for your ticket. Whether you pay for it or not is by your privilege that you're lucky enough to get the chance to get a ticket to Liverpool play. And I just feel I'm so strongly against people booing the club. Have been so proud of being a Liverpool fan and Liverpool fans in general over the years, apart from booing the national anthem, I totally disagree with, or singing You'll Never Walk Alone through it. But I think that the point I'm making is that you're there to support your team. If you think you're paying their wages, you're not. Because the people who are paying the wages are people who are paying millions and millions, all the commercial partners, the TV people, the supporters. They're called supporters. They're supposed to be there to support their team. That's my point.
Anthony, I mean, Simon called it graceless and witless. Do you think we witnessed a trashy reaction to Trent Alexander-Arnold coming on yesterday?
Yes, I do, totally. He's been a brilliant servant. We didn't pay anything for him in the first place. Yes, we developed him. I think it was disgusting. I agree with everything Simon said about Liverpool through and through, actually. Although I defend Liverpool to the end of the earth, but certain things are indefensible. This is one of them.